Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Sam. I'm an artist, illustrator and an aspiring knitting designer coming to you from Dublin in Ireland. And you can find me around the internet looking for Irish farm art. I have a Etsy shop in which I sell my original paintings and prints, and as well a Ravelry page in which I share with you my knitting patterns. You can also find me here on YouTube, where I usually host a knitting podcast. I am going to put all the links below in the description. Today I would like to share with you my 10 most favorite colorwork pattern jumpers for men. I got this idea from the great podcaster Jimmy Does Knitting here on YouTube, and please check him out. It's a great podcast. Jimmy is an American living in the Netherlands, and he is sharing his original views on knitting and his work and its newly published patterns as well. I'm going to put his channel's link below as well. So Jimmy did a compilation of 15 or more cable jumpers for men. Seeing that video, I got very much inspired. I think, by the way, I check every single of the pattern he mentioned, I cast them on, and then it was a disaster. I'm not done for cables. So, with that in mind, I kind of wanted to share with you my 10 most favorite design for a male audience. Now, in his video, Jimmy was very eloquent and very well spoken around gender identity and non-binary representation. Unfortunately, due to language barrier, I'm not able to be as eloquent as Jimmy. English is not my first language, but yeah, I wanted to make clear that this is not a men compilation of jumper, but they are jumpers or garments that are more suited for a masculine type of body, being a cis man or a person that identify as a male, or anyone that has broader shoulders and a thinner waist. It's always quite difficult to find male patterns, and when I knit a garment that is designed for a woman, I always modify quite heavily my knitting in order to get the length of the body, the broadness of the shoulders, the sleeve length and width to fit me quite nicely. So keeping that in mind, I have been looking for patterns that have all of this modification or all of this design feature already in the pattern, so you just knit through easy peasy. And Jimmy mentioned this as well in its video, and I found it really inspiring. So without any further ado, let's start with the list. These are my 10 favorite colorwork pattern. When I talk about colorwork, I talk about the stranded colorwork. It's referred sometimes as feral colorwork, but feral is a style of stranded colorwork. So I want to be quite clear with the terminology here. My favorite style of stranded colorwork is definitely the Norwegian colorwork. I'm wearing probably the most iconic Norwegian sweater right now. I haven't knitted all the patterns that I'm going to mention here, so I won't have 100% experience in every single one of them. But they are patterns that either I have knitted in the past or I intend to cast on in the next foreseeable future. Also, I will put links to Ravelry pages down below in the description, so you can check them out, and I am going to try to move a little bit and put pictures representing the patterns that I'm talking about just over here. The first one that we are going to talk about, I have my handy notes here, is the one that I'm wearing now. This is the Mariio number 3 from Sandnes Garn. I'm going just to show you the color work a little bit. This is definitely my favorite jumper to knit and to wear. I have knitted myself several iterations of this jumper, and every single time consistently it comes out perfect and it fits beautifully. I don't know what's about the Sadness pattern, but they fit me extraordinarily well. So first mention is definitely the Mariio No. 3 sweater. Now, this is a bottom-up colorwork. It's knitted in the round, and we have sticking for the sleeves. They are drop shoulders, drop sleeves, and you need to cut through in order to fit the sleeve. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, so I will mention later on another option for you if you don't like cutting but you like the design of the Mariio's. Mariio's sweater is a very popular Norwegian pattern that is patented by Sandnes Garn, so it's proprietary and it's for sale in their website. Mariio's was a ski champion back in the Olympics of the 50s, 60s if I'm right, and he used to wear a design very similar to this, so the pattern was created, and in Norway they are making, I don't know, souvenirs with the Mariio's pattern and all of that. It's really popular. I just mentioned it's a bottom-up jumper with sticking for the sleeves. The yarn that this specific pattern uses, it's a fingering weight yarn. I used for this garment a sock yarn, Fable by Drops. It's really inexpensive and really sturdy because of the nylon content. So, if you are not fussed about sticking, and you're not fussed about knitting the Mariio's sweater in fingering weight yarn, we have the Mariio's No. 10. This is not part of my favorite colorwork patterns, but it's an honorable mention because I know it's quite difficult to knit with fingering weight and stick. Mariio's No. 10 is a bottom-up round yoke colorwork jumper, so you just cast off the stitches for the sleeves and you pick up stitches and knit the sleeve afterwards, but the yoke is like a funnel. It's lovely and hugging you. Be careful that the pattern doesn't include short rows for the neck, so that is probably a modification you want to make. The Mariio's No. 10 is a DK pattern, so the gauge is much larger or much smaller depending where you see that, and is a much quicker knit as well. Now, I do prefer fingering weight yarn sweaters. I live in Ireland. It's quite mild of a climate now, so heavy DK jumpers are not really that useful on an everyday basis. So you will see that a lot of patterns here are... Let's go on with the top 10, otherwise this video is gonna last an hour. The next one is the Eastender sweater, again a pattern by Sandnes Garn. This pattern is knitted bottom up with raglan decreases, and once again we have a fingering weight yarn. You can find the Eastender sweater or Icelandic sweater in many different patterns. Some are for free, some are for paying. I myself had knitted the Sandnes Garn, the Rauma Fino version, and the version that Ellie by the Scandinavian Knits podcast have done as well. I don't feel like recommending one rather than the other, but in my opinion the Sandnes Garn one has the perfect stitch count to fit my body, so I can follow that without any modification. The Eastender sweater was made very popular by The Crown TV show on Netflix a couple of years ago, where Prince William, was it Prince William? One of the royals was wearing an Eastender sweater. and I found it particularly beautiful. It's very classic with full-on color work. The color work is very small, but it's everywhere in the jumper. It's easy to do because it's very well memorizable as well. Going on, we have another sadness pattern, the Pelle sweater or Pelle Ganser. This is another bottom-up, fingery weight and raglan sweater. Here we have a more complicated color work. We have at some point 3 strands of yarn in different colors interacting with each other to create this beautiful full-on color work. Once again, sadness patterns, when you knit one, they follow more or less the same style of construction. So if you have knitted before, let's say, the Eastender sweater, and you jump onto the Pelle sweater, you will find that the construction is very, very similar. Of course, we have different features. In this case, we have a color work that goes up to the neck and incorporate short rows as well. So the neck raises a little bit, which is absolutely ingenious as well. Raglan is probably one of my favorite ways to knit a garment. I find that accentuate nicely the shoulder cups, so make you feel a little bit broader, which is always good if you're not going to the gym quite often. And yeah, it's just a very beautiful sweater. I knitted that personally using Holstgarn super soft yarn, and it works out beautifully. Be careful though that being a complicated color work overall, the gauge tend to get tighter as you knit up. So check your gauge or go up a needle size, even if the swatch look fine, because inevitably you're gonna tend to drag the yarn a little bit more. Going on with number 3, we have the Redar sweater. This is a Aran way sweater knitted bottom up with a round yoke. This is potato chippy as a pattern. If you are quite familiar with the color work, you will find no issue at all. Being Aran weight as well, it's extraordinarily quick to knit up. It's one of my favorite sweater. I made some modifications, of course, in this case, but those are minor features that I would have modified even if the sweater fitted beautifully. And in this case, it does fit beautifully. The modification that I made are on the collar piece and the cuffs and waist. The pattern tells you to knit like a rolled up ribbing for the cuff, the collar and the waistband. I didn't do that, I just knitted a regular 2x2 ribbing, if I'm correct. Eastex has very, very beautiful patterns, and I bought myself a couple of those. Now, be mindful of the cost of the patterns. They are not the cheapest pattern that you can find, especially if you buy them in the published booklet versions. When you buy one, they are all the same in terms of construction. Same decreasing style for the roundy yoke, same stitch count. So I'm just putting that out there if you want to save a penny or two. Going on, we have the Cortina sweater by Arne and Carlos, creator for Dalgar. I have had issues in finding this pattern for sale, but I decided to put it out here because it's absolutely one of my favorite color work to knit. It's very similar to the Mariio's sweater, but it has a very particular story behind. This pattern was created in 1954 for the Olympics in Cortina. Cortina is a town very close by where I am originally from, and I felt it very, I don't know, culturally close to myself as well. I have seen growing up so many versions of the Cortina sweater. It's extraordinarily popular over there, as you can imagine. Now, I found it difficult to find the pattern, so I contacted directly Dalgar, and they were so gracious to send me the PDF pattern. I decided to knit the version from Arne and Carlos, but on the Dalgar website you can find so many other versions of the Cortina sweater created by other designers, so it's not difficult to find per se. I just was fussy in wanting the Arne and Carlos version. And if I am correct, all the versions are free on the Dale website. The Cortina is a fingering weight jumper knitted from the bottom and up with a very classic colorwork, and we have here sticking as well. Going on, we have one of my latest works. It's probably the last knitted sweater that I have made in 2023, which is the Foxtails jumper by the Petite Knitter, not to be confused with Petite Knit. It's a wonderful, wonderful color work with little foxes all around the yoke. This is a bottom-up round yoke jumper, and you just, as a round yoke goes, put on all the number of stitches for the sleeves, and then pick them up and knit down the sleeves. It has a beautiful color work both on the cuffs, the waistband, and the yoke. Now, it's not the easiest color work. There are 3 and 4 strands of colors going on in the vast majority of the rounds, but it fits absolutely, absolutely beautifully, and I really warmly recommend it. I knitted mine using, once again, Holst Garn super soft wool, which by now you know it's my favorite wool. Now we have the number 7. It's called the Work Study Sweater by Lindsay Flammer. This isn't a pattern that I have knitted, but it's been in my queue for the longest amount of time. This is a DK garment bottom up with circular yoke. Now the color work is not in the yoke, it's in a band in the middle of the sleeves and the chest, which I never considered for some reason, and I think it's just very, very beautiful. Looks amazing on the model, on the picture, and reading through the pattern seems like the construction is very easy and very well explained, so I cannot wait to knit it up. And the combination of color is just outstanding, so I am probably going to follow that as well. Now, another of my latest knitting experiment. This is the Setal Sweater by Sandnes Garn. You can find so many versions of the Setal sweater. This comes from a region in Norway, Setal region. It's another similar version of the Mario's sweater, but we have all over color work on all the jumper from the bottom up. My version, or this Sandnes Garn version, is knitted in fingering weight from the bottom and up, with a very particular construction for the shoulders. The pattern doesn't tell you to use sticking, but it gives you a different technique, which is probably worth it to check out. In my case, I decided to go for sticking, so where the pattern told you to cast off stitches for the shoulder, for example, I just casted on a number of stitches to get my facing and my sticking. But if I need this again, I will definitely follow the pattern by the letter, just because I'm curious to see how the original version turns out. It seems so very interesting, especially the cup of the shoulder. It's quite ingenious in my opinion. Almost at the end. Number 9, we have the Lapidarium sweater by Marina Skua. I haven't knitted this yet, but I bought myself the pattern and a kit with her beautiful hand dyed yarn. Mariio No is a great podcaster here on YouTube. I'm gonna put her link below as well. And she is a creator. She dyes yarn, sells beautiful local to her yarn. I think she comes from Bath or the Bath region, if I'm correct. And she dyes this very locally sourced yarn, being extremely mindful of respecting the environment and sheep and paying all the due respect to the farmers. Mariio is as well a amazing, in my opinion, designer, and she has so many beautiful patterns, and each of the pattern is linked as well to some aspect of nature that I find absolutely magical. Anyway, I'm stopped drooling about Mariio's talent, but the Lapidarium is great. Now, it's a top-down jumper. So you start from the top of the yoke and you work yourself down, which I know it's probably the favorite way of knitting a garment for the vast majority of you. It's not mine. I do prefer a bottom-up jumpers, but I'm eager to try this technique with this garment. It's been in my queue forever. So I warmly recommend you to check out Mariio's podcast, and especially her yarn and pattern kits. They are stunning and they come very quickly as well. Now we have a new entry here. I'm reading because this is very new to me, but I was running through and browsing Ravelry and this came up and it was like, wow, this is definitely what I need to cast on tomorrow. This is the Fos Vine winter sweater. I'm gonna put the names here or in the description below because I can't really pronounce foreign languages. By Inga Simmingsen. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. This is a worsted weight bottom-up garment with drop shoulder, and it's seamless, so we don't have any cutting, any seam, and the construction is beautiful. The color work is outstanding. Now, I don't know if it's myself being sidetracked by how the garment fits on the model, or if it's actually the pattern being just magical. I really want to cast this on, and I think the fit will look perfect. Now, I have a couple of honorable mentions as well. These are not my top 10 pattern because I haven't done much of this situation, or you can't really find the pattern anymore. So the first one will be the Stroi cardigan by Todd Gocken. Once again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced the names. It's a cardigan that has been sitting in my queue forever, and I don't know when to start. If to start is a full-on color work knitted in sport weight yarn held double, so it's a bulky weight type of gauge. And I think if I remember correctly, reading through the pattern, that this was inspired by a TV show, probably The Voice. Someone was wearing a similar cardigan and the designer recreated that cardigan. It's beautiful. It has a full-on color work on all the body with a simple but I think very effective color work pattern, and has a raglan, the creases that are hidden within the pattern. Absolutely great. I am not familiar with knitting cardigans, and I don't really wear cardigans, let's be clear here, but it's definitely something that I want to experiment a little bit more, and the cardigan specifically just look magnificent, so I really want to try that, and I thought it was nice to mention. The next one it's something I've knitted, but it was a labor of love. So the pattern, you can't find the pattern, but if you can find it, please get it in any language you can. It's a very easy bottom-up stick shoulder construction, but the color work is just outstanding. This is the 20706 jumper by Dalgar, and this, in my opinion, is the epitome of a classic Christmas jumper. We have a nice colorwork yoke with the reindeers and snowflakes, and it's just gorgeous, beautiful, without being too flashy, if you know what I mean. There aren't Christmas trees and nothing. It's just a lovely, very classic sweater. I knitted this not being able to find a pattern. I just look at the pictures of the other projects and I wrote down the color work. I'm giving full credit to Dalgar for this wonderful garment. So yeah, if you can find it, please check it out. So that was it. I'm very eager to know if you have any other recommendation in terms of colorwork pattern that you would like to give me or to share with the channel. Please put a comment below. I'm eager to find new jumpers to knit, to be honest, this 2024. So I'm very glad you were joining me today, and if you enjoy, please give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.